Welcome, my name is Nate Kane. I am not a guitar tech, but today I am doing a setup on this Telecaster right here. So I'll talk a little bit more in just a little bit about why I have this guitar, where it came from, and I just picked up a Music Nomad setup guide and a little kit with all the different tools that I need. And in here I've got like string clippers, a winder, and a few different Allen wrenches and whatnot. So I don't really know what I'm doing with the setup. I've done my own string changes for several years, but I've never gone that far beyond it. So this will be fun. I'm also hanging out with my newborn son here, and he's off camera. I'm not going to show him, but he's a real cutie, and he makes a lot of noise. So if you hear any funny grunting or whatever in the background, that's just him. All right, so this is the Fender Player Plus Telecaster, and I believe they call this aged candy apple red or something like that. I think it's pretty sweet. I just traded this guitar. I had a Fender Player 2 Telecaster before. I don't know, I just didn't really vibe with it. I posted it on Facebook Marketplace to sell, and someone reached out asking if I'd be willing to trade it for this. I figured I might as well check it out, so we met up, I gave it a shot, liked how it felt, liked how it sounded, and here we are. It also has locking tuners, which is sweet. I've never actually done a string change with locking tuners before, but I imagine it's gonna be really easy. I'm excited about this guitar. I vibed with it a little bit better than I did the Player 2. Again, the Player 2 I thought was a great guitar, but I just didn't really connect with it. All right, I've got the strings off, and I don't know how well you'll be able to see, but there are quite a few fingerprints on it. I've got some, let's see, Dunlop guitar polish and cleaner. I say it works great, but the spray bottle on this thing broke a long time ago, so I have to really sit here and try to get a lot of the cleaner on. Shout out to Christian, who I traded with. If you end up seeing this, that's awesome. I haven't even finished feeding the strings through the body yet, and I already put a bunch of new fingerprints on it, so I don't really know why I bothered cleaning it in the first place. I'm kind of guessing how these locking tuners work. All I'm doing is putting some gentle pressure on the string and then just tightening the locking tuner. I feel like that'll work fine. If I'm doing this right, then I think I want locking tuners on all of my guitars, because this is really easy. Wiping off my fingerprints again. I'm tuning up the strings now. I'm not going to clip the strings yet though, because I'm not 100% sure if I did the locking tuners correctly. I'm pretty sure I did. I mean, it's not rocket science. But just to be safe, I'm going to leave extra slack on the end of the strings, just in case I did something stupid. I also gotta say, I'm really surprised at how resonant this thing is unplugged. Now I'm going to check out this Music Nomad guide to figure out what to do next for the setup. Music Nomad tells me that my next step after a restring and tuning it up is checking the truss rod. I have done quite a few truss rod adjustments in my time, but I never do it very scientifically. I just kind of guess. I mean, if it feels high, I lower it. If it feels low, I raise it. That's pretty much all I do. But I'm going to follow their steps to make sure that it's perfect for this one. So there's a very light touch, and it says that that's good. All right, next up is checking the action for the strings. So it's saying that the action on my low E string is a little high and that the action on my high E string is a little low. What's interesting is that when I'm playing it, the low E string is buzzing a little bit, which tells me that I feel like it should maybe be a little bit higher. At the end of the day, as long as I'm happy with how it feels and sounds, we're good. But I am going to try lowering the action here and just following this gauge, see what that sounds like, what it feels like, and then I'll adjust from there. Okay, it says we're in a pretty good range for the action on the low E string. However, you can hear there's a whole lot of buzz. So I don't really know why. I don't know if I maybe messed something up with the truss rod. I didn't adjust the truss rod and the gauge said it was okay. So I'm sure there's just something I'm missing. We're getting somewhere. I think one more small turn and we'll be in the sweet spot. All right, that looks a little bit better. I think I was misreading the gauge a little bit before. Now let's try adjusting the action and see how it goes this time around. All right, now I'm extra confused because it's even worse than before. So I'm going to undo what I did with the truss rod and then adjust the action again. I'm not really sure what's going on. Okay, so I made a really stupid mistake. Take a look at the gauge. And you see these lines at the bottom where I'm kind of pointing with my pinky? The lines at the bottom there I'm supposed to be looking at where the top of the line meets the bottom of the string. I was flipping it, which is why it seemed way higher than it should have been. Now that I'm looking at the right side, I realized I was actually really low, which is why it was buzzing. So that was really stupid. Okay, forgive my stupid mistakes. We got it figured out, and now I'm on to figuring out the radius of the string. So we got the truss rod adjusted, we figured out the action of the low E and high E strings, and now we need to make sure that the action of the rest of the strings is good. I forgot to check the radius while I had the strings off, so I'm just gonna look up what it is for this guitar. Alright, it looks like this has a 12-inch radius, so what we're going to do is we're going to check the strings now and make sure that the radius of the strings matches the radius of the fretboard. Alright, I just got the rest of the strings and the saddle set to the same radius, that 12-inch radius to match the fretboard, and I was playing around on it, and it actually feels pretty darn good, so I'm feeling pleased with it. Next up is making sure that everything is intonated. The final step of the setup process is to set the pickup height. The Music Nomad guide tells me what it should be for a Telecaster, which is helpful, so I'm going to check that right now and adjust it if needed. So this little tool used to be magnetic for these bits, and it's not anymore, and I don't know why. So that's kind of annoying, but we'll make it work. According to the guide, my bridge pickup was a little bit low, so I'm raising that now. And again, according to the guide, it looks like the neck pickup is also a little bit too low. That was the final step in setting up this guitar. Unplugged, everything is feeling and sounding pretty darn good to me, so I'm going to plug it in and see how it all feels and sounds there. Alright, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. I think it sounds pretty great. I'm happy with the trade. So again, shout out to Christian. Thank you very much. And, you know, I'll be honest, that setup was a bit of a battle, but I learned a lot, and I'll do better next time. And I enjoyed myself. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.